All right, so this is a pretty awesome episode we have coming up of our latest YouTube series called Milestones. We have not one, but we got two big milestones. We got two studleets, and we got their coach in the house. So if you're watching this, to the left, we got Belle Smith, who's a junior, Boston College commit, plays for Westhampton. Belle, how you feeling?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, thank you. And in the middle, we got her cuz Hollie. And Hollie, I want to make sure I pronounce your name correctly. Is it Schleicher?
Schleicher.
Schleicher with a little k at the end.
Yep.
Okay. So Hollie is also going to BC. You're a senior. Hollie, how are you feeling today?
I'm really good. Really excited to be here.
Cool. Well, excited to have you. And then Mary Bergman is the head coach of Westhampton, who's been crushing it the last, for as long as you've been there, at least. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Awesome. So we're going to start with Hollie. So Hollie, interesting story, right? You transferred into the school, and that was after your sophomore year. Is that correct? Yes. So after your sophomore year, so we're going to talk about some of the success you've had at Westhampton. So right now, as it stands, going into your next game, you have 170 goals, 71 assists. That's 241 career points. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So I think, to be honest, what's most impressive about your game after watching you play and based on what Coach Mary has told me is not necessarily your goals and assists. I think it's all the things that typically don't get statted. So like your ground balls, cause turnovers, your draw controls. And I think the impact that you have on a game extends much further than just scoring goals and assists. So that's what I'm most impressed about. I'm sure Mary is too. So my first question for you, Hollie, maybe, after accumulating all these points, what's maybe one moment that stands out amongst the rest?
I would say definitely beating Bayport Blue Point in the semifinal game last year to get to counties, and winning in overtime.
And you had the overtime goal. Sorry.
It was just that was just one of the greatest moments that I can remember from my high school career playing lacrosse. Just all our teammates being together, working together. It was pouring rain that day, and we just pushed through, and we came out with a win, and it was really, really fun.
Talk about the game-winning goal. You remember what happened exactly? Take us through it if we weren't there, because I wasn't there.
I will say, too, the win was even better because we lost every draw control in overtime.
Every single draw.
Wow.
We won 9 draw controls in regulation, and we lost every single draw control.
So we had
some
sick defense.
big.
Wait, so how were there multiple draw controls in overtime? Did it stretch beyond the first? There were 3? Gotcha.
Third overtime. Yeah.
Were there a couple saves made in as well in overtime, or not really?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
They never got a turnover. I think Jackie and Lindsay had the last. Yeah. And then we got it up the field, and that's when. Go ahead.
And I just remember Coach B after the second overtime going into the third. She was like, "We need to come out with a goal. This has to end now." And so getting down on offense, just thinking in my head okay, this is it. This is the time. We're gonna win. We've done it's been a long game. And I remember I cut from the left elbow, and Haley Dalio comes around the net, and Haley's a great feeder, and you kind of just we made eye contact, and I knew she was gonna pass it to me. Passes it, catch with my right hand. I'm pretty sure I closed my eyes. Shot the ball, went in, and it was just a surreal feeling. I stood there for 5 seconds after, everyone running to me, and I was just oh my God.
I
was
there's a picture of it perfectly.
There's an exact picture of the moment when she scored, and Belle is 4 feet off the ground,
and
jumping
you're
up.
looking back as you're actually going. It's so funny.
Hopefully Belle, you didn't roll an ankle on that one.
This year, right?
All right, that's a pretty special moment. I think those big time games. You're probably gonna remember that forever. The fact that you still remember it to this point. So.
And the rain. Something about the weather. When it downpours.
Now, Belle, let's talk about you for a little bit. I want to brag about you, and then we'll talk about a memorable moment. Is that cool?
All right. Yeah.
All right. So Belle, you're younger than your cuz. Mm-hmm. You're only a 2020, so you got another year ahead of you. At this, as it stands, you have 226 goals, 107 assists, 333 career points, and 305 draw controls. Currently, you lead the team in goals. And I didn't mention, to brag a little bit more about Hollie, you lead the team. I'm sorry, Hollie, you lead the team in goals. Belle, you lead the team in assists. So you guys clearly are probably working together, I would assume, a lot to create those. And then Hollie, you're leading in goals ground balls, cause turnovers, and draw control. So, Belle, you're having a huge year. You're obviously having a huge career. Talk to us a little bit about what stands out in terms of a memorable moment playing for Westhampton.
There were so many different ones. Definitely beating Bayport. That was always like one of the best, something you won't forget. Two others, 7th grade was my first year on the team. I was a little baby. And we had to win our last game of season to get into playoffs, and it was against Huntington, and we were not supposed to beat them.
Yeah, we were not.
It was our senior day.
That was when, there was big name kids on that team. And
it's like
they had 1 loss on the season,
and
we had 7 losses on the season.
Yeah. And we had to win that game, and I think it also went into triple overtime.
It was triple overtime.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And same thing. It was misting. It was a night game. And when Bella
senior day,
everything, and when we just finished with that last goal, like we all just went crazy, and it was just one of those moments you never forget.
I heard there was a game that you scored 9 out of 14 goals. Was that a playoff game or was that a regular season game?
Yeah, that playoff game, 8th grade.
As an 8th grader.
Yeah, so
I remember hearing about that.
Yeah. So my 8th grade year, we played Sayville during the season, and we lost to them by like 6.
By a lot, yeah.
5 or 6. And then we had to play them in playoffs. And the year before that, we lost to them in playoffs.
Yeah.
And so it was one of those moments where I was like, I'm not losing to this team again. And our whole team was really excited. So we just came out on fire. And that was also, I think it was our first time ever winning playoffs.
I think it was the second. We beat Islip one time, and then that was the second time, yeah.
So we were all just so excited because we lost them in season. And that was a really cool experience to, be a big part of it.
And Mary, do you feel that some of your most memorable moments are similar to theirs, or do you maybe have another one that stands out that they didn't mention?
Because you forget once playoffs come, you forget about
this season.
You forget about the season.
Yeah.
You forget about the losses. I mean, we remember that one because it was the last. That was a do or die moment.
Yeah.
We need to beat a team that only has 1 loss on season, and really.
Walking
into that game, there was we didn't think there was any chance of winning that game, but we just went out and we're like, all right, well, it might be our last game.
I don't even remember anything from that game except the last 5 minutes.
And I remember, I could still picture them taking a picture in front of the scoreboard because it was 14-13.
Yeah.
So I still remember the score of that game. So that was a good one. And then Belle was our scorekeeper in 6th grade, our bookkeeper. And we beat Islip that year for the first time ever, winning a playoff game. And that was when both O-Millers were on the team.
Wow.
So it was a really high scoring game. I think it was 18-16 final. And it was back and forth the whole game. It was 1-1, 2-1, 2-2, 3-2. It just went back and forth, and that was our first playoff win ever. So that one was
What was the game? What was the game plan against the Old Millers?
That year the game plan was, I don't even think we had much of a game plan. I mean, we normally don't focus too much on 1 or 2 kids just because the way our zone is, if we leave someone else completely open, then they're going to score on us. But we knew the Old Millers were good, so we were definitely focusing on them a little bit more. But yeah, that was, I think they scored almost every goal, the 2 of them on their team. So they came back at the end because I think we pulled ahead, and then the Old Millers just started lighting it up. So that was a game where you were holding on right at the end for the win. So all those games are, but you remember those moments. You don't remember the few crappy moments that you have. We try to forget about losing in the county championship. I'd rather remember.
Sure. So how's the mood and the vibe on the team as we kind of come towards the end of the season and approach playoff time?
You guys can go.
Sure.
Okay. So one of our mottos is always best lacrosse in May, because May is when the big games come and playoffs come. And especially with our Shoreham game, I think that was one of the best games we've had all season. Yeah. So our motto was true, best lacrosse in May. So I think we're just really excited going into the rest of the season and going into playoffs on a strong note.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. And especially, I'm sure every player knows, every team knows that getting to May, it's the end of the year, it's a long stretch. Lacrosse season's a long season to play. And I think what's so important on our team is that our chemistry is so strong, even at the end of the season. And we all still want to be here. We still want to play. We were ready for playoffs. And, we're just excited. We're not it's May now, it's warm. Like, we want to be there. We want to be practicing. We want to win.
We're like, it's warm, let's go to practice.
Yeah, I would say this year our team chemistry is probably the best that it's been since I've been here. So, and a lot of them have played now together for a long time, but everyone's really close. Like, we don't really have any of the burnout at this point, like, at all. Like, sometimes at this point in the year, everyone's tired. Like, people don't want to be there, but, like, they'll be like, no, we want to practice on Sunday before the game.
Yeah,
like, we want to practice. So, and we have a big week this week, so it's an exciting week.
It was an exciting week.
We have
Senior Day too.
Bayport Monday, East Islip Tuesday for Senior Day, and then West Bath Thursday. So it's a big,
Those are 3 solid opponents. Is this why Belle and Hollie, you embrace the beach in the wintertime because you can't really afford to go to the beach during the spring because you're too busy playing?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Mary, so when you have 2 sensational players on one team, you're for the most part a relatively smaller school out in Suffolk. I feel like some coaches, sometimes they don't really know what to do with that much talent. For you, how have you embraced having 2 superstars on your team, and how do you try to get the most out of them and get them to their full potential before they head off to college? Because Hollie will be heading there pretty soon.
Yeah. We don't want her to go, but no, I mean, obviously we do have an advantage having 2 of the best players, obviously, on the islands. But I always tell people too, like, our sophomore class is such a strong sophomore class. Like, 2 girls, again, Shoreham, Gianna, and Maureen hit their 100th career point as sophomores. We have Jackie Yamada. We have 2 strong sophomore goalies. So they do a lot of it for us, but they also have a really good cast around them to help. Like, if we were in another district, like, they'd still be posting numbers, but I don't know if in other teams we'd be as successful, if that makes sense, because they do have great kids around them. They know what, like Belle has a nice connection with Gianna, and you have a nice connection with Maureen. So, like, it's nice to have those other kids around you. And I feel like every day we are getting better because we're figuring out connections. We're figuring out what we need to do. We've played a much more strategic game this year, I feel like. So every day we're going in with a different strategy. We are playing some mind games to surprise some people in the next week, 2 weeks. But this is the first year, because they're leaders now, that we've been able to really do that, because we've had leaders in the past, but they have the lacrosse IQ and they have the leadership ability, and they're playing lacrosse all year long. So we've been able to put in some things that we haven't. Like, we played 3 to 4 different defenses. We've never really, like, we had years when Belle first started playing where we had one defense. That was it. That was all we could handle.
Run it right.
Yeah, run it right. Otherwise, it's not going to go well. And now we have multiple motions, multiple looks. Like, we're figuring out things on the fly. And so it's just good to have them as leaders now, because Belle, like, I feel like Belle was an underclassman for so long. So even though she was a stud, like, she let the older kids still take charge and be leaders, but now we have a really strong group that are seniors. So we do have Lindsay Rongo as a defender down on defense. Paige Rignola was a straight attacker her whole career, and she's a straight defender, not coming off the field, and she's a good defender. So we've just mixed things up, but it's because they're open to the ideas and they stick with the game plans, and they've learned from our mistakes in the past to know that they don't want that to happening again.
So two more things I want to touch on. One for Belle, one for Hollie. So Belle, for those that don't know, you're currently on the under-19 USA team, which is pretty cool. So that was announced before the season. How did that announcement, and I know you had one, and you're going to have multiple really cool experiences with the USA team, affect just your mentality, your confidence and your swagger going into this high school season?
I mean, it's such an amazing experience. It's something that is hard to even talk about because you dream about it your whole life. So to be on it, like you said, it definitely builds confidence, and it's something where the things I learned from those players, because they're all amazing, the girls on that team, I want to contribute and I want to show that to my team on Westhampton. So I feel like being on that team has just like built my confidence and wanted me to like teach kids on our Westhampton team more about that game and the type of game they play. And I think it also built the connections on our team more. Yeah. It's like a stronger connection and stronger IQ.
Everyone respects it here. Like, everyone respects it. And
everyone
both of them wants to listen and want to learn. And our PIL program is awesome. We had PIL day the other day. Like, they just being able to see a kid, like, oh, a kid in our school district is on the USA team.
The possibility of it, I think, like, because I've seen it. Belle's amazing with, like, inspiring other people. She inspires me every day. Like, not to be sappy, but it's true. And it's just, like, the possibility, like, knowing that that's possible is a whole nother thing. because you come from a small school and you're like, oh, like those kids up there doing it, but like to have someone in your community a part of something like that is really good.
And you've seen her play. She doesn't play like, I don't want to say you don't play with swagger, but you play with confidence, but she's not walking on the field like, I'm the best kid. Like she's humble about it, and people respect that. Like there's a good article that Riverhead Times News just wrote, and Shoreham actually gave like her really good compliments and said like she deserves every accolade she's ever gotten, like, and she gets the job done and she's not hogging the ball and she's sharing the ball. It was a really nice article that they wrote because we tend to have like a pretty big competition between the two of us.
And I think even me being a part of USA right now, like, yes, it built my confidence, but I feel like it's built our whole team's confidence because they're playing with me every day, and like I'm learning from them, they're learning from me, so they feel a part of it just as much as I do. And I think our whole community has been so good about it that everyone feels a part of it. Everyone feels like they're a part of the accomplishment, which they are, because I couldn't do it without any of them. So
cool. Well, great answer. I think your influence is stretching beyond your team. It seems it seems like your community has your support, and that's a pretty special thing. Also, so I guess the last thing is I wanted to leave with Hollie. You're coming to a close your high school career. You're moving on to college pretty soon. So, what are your feelings right now? Going into your last couple regular season games and playoffs, and then also maybe leave us with one piece of advice for maybe a younger girl who plays lacrosse and wants to be like you one day that you can maybe express to them.
I'm getting sad.
I'm getting sad.
I am I feel so lucky to be able to be a part of the Westhampton Beach community and this team. It's been I can't even explain the change it's brought to my life being a part of this team with Coach Bergman and all these girls. I'm so excited to go into the last couple games this season, but I'm also really, really sad. These are like my best friends, and this has just been one of the greatest experiences that I've encountered. And I'm very, very excited to head on to Boston College. But there's no other word than excitement.
I'm going to visit
cool.
you.
And
I'll go up to all the games.
And one piece of advice I would definitely give to the younger girls is not to get so caught. It's easy when you're younger, especially, to get so caught up in points and all of that, all the statistics and stuff, which are obviously amazing and great, but I would say don't get caught up in that. Just play your game. If you play like yourself, and you're confident and you know what to do and you're playing as a team, you're all going to do well, and that's a lot more valuable than doing well by yourself.
And you're going to have a lot more memories.
Yeah.
I think that's like the strongest.
Yeah. Well, very well said, Hollie. I really appreciate your time. Belle, awesome job. And Mary, always a pleasure. You're doing great things in Westhampton, and you obviously have some great young women who are going to be, this is just the beginning. What's happening in the women's game, especially at the college level. There's going to be a lot more coverage. There's a lot more people promoting it, and we're going to continue to do the same thing because at the end of the day, you're from Long Island, so we always think Long Island is the best. So,
you guys are doing a great job.
Yeah, awesome.
Thanks for
thank you.
So
We
much
appreciate it. Of course. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on YouTube, and I'll keep it private. I'll send you the video. If you think it looks good, then we're going to promote it in our newsletter on Sunday morning, which we're working on right now.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Right?
Thank you so much.
So I hope you guys have a great week. I know you got 3 big games coming up. Good luck.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.